Turning now to this, an article in the Washington Post argues that the slogan "Make America Great Again" carries a, quote, fundamental flaw of trying to bring America back to the 1950s. Quote, in reality, however, the 1950s were great only for some Americans. Restoring that America, as many Republicans are attempting to do in places where they wield political power, would hurt almost everyone else.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. Joe, what's your take on this?
Well, it appears that hyperbole rules the day again here once again, Todd, Carly. I don't think people necessarily want a return to the 50s. I mean, what would we do without, our iPhones? And I don't think that Fox and Friends First was on at that point, so it would be a tough time in America. But I think most of us would be happy for a return from an economic perspective to 2019. Inflation below 2%, and gas prices about half of what they are now, violent crime not causing all these exodus out of cities like New York or Chicago or San Francisco, a border that was actually secure. I think we'd take that. So the 50s, happy days, a nice time, but I think maybe 3 years ago, as pre-pandemic, is something we all could embrace.
Joe, yesterday, this clip of Vice President Kamala Harris went viral because of the way she introduced herself. Watch this.
I welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit.
Right, so everybody around the table described what they were wearing to help the visually impaired, but she also used her gender pronouns, and Republicans had a field day with that.
Yeah, the vice president, Carly, can only talk about pronouns at this point because she certainly is not going to talk about her progress on her number one job, and that is securing the U.S. border, finding the root causes behind mass migration. It's extremely difficult to be polling below the current president in the United States and Joe Biden, but somehow this vice president is doing just that. And again, it shows that, campaigning and complaining is so easy, like we heard throughout 2020. But governing, executing on solutions, executing on them is extremely harder. And this vice president simply is not interested in doing the hard work, nor is equipped to fix problems, even when she is engaged. But I did like the suit, though. Big on blue myself. So good choice there by the vice president's people.
It was a good suit.
I'll feel a lot better about all this when I hear Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin go to a press conference and do this same thing. But until that happens, I think the rest of the world is laughing at us. Meantime, right. Putin, I'm wearing blue suit. Meantime, Jill Biden's press secretary is the latest staffer to leave the White House communications team. Head for the door. Joe, is this why the White House can't get its messaging right on anything because these guys are leaving en masse, or is this just normal churn?
Yeah, this guy is Michael LaRosa. He's the First Lady's spokesperson, so he probably signed off on that whole Hispanics are tacos thing. So perhaps it's a good time to excuse oneself, right? But yeah, there is normal churn in White Houses, particularly when it comes to those on the communications team. But to do it now and have that be part of a news cycle when you have the midterms only 100 days away, and we see it with the vice president's office all the time with folks leaving, it's just a bad look. If you really were committed to your job, you'd wait until after the midterms and finish things out. But many staffers in this White House, Todd, Carly, they know what's coming. Red tsunami in November, and they don't want to be around when that happens. And I don't want to be around here anymore, despite this lovely conversation, because I know you got to go and keep the trains running on time. So we'll see you on Monday, taking a 4-day weekend, heading down to the Jersey Shore where everything's all right. Of course, come on.
You deserve it.
Gotta be done. Just thank you. I appreciate that.
Whatever you do, avoid the sharks. Enjoy your time, but avoid the sharks.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
I want to go to Ellie Honig now, former federal prosecutor and our senior legal analyst, along with Stephanie Grisham, former Trump White House press secretary who resigned over the January 6th insurrection. Ellie, let me just start with you. As I was speaking to Congressman Raskin, some new reporting from the Washington Post, reporting that DOJ investigators have specifically asked grand jury witnesses, so people like Mark Short, people who appeared before that grand jury, about then President Trump's actions as part of its criminal probe. Okay, about President Trump's actions. So until now, we knew they were interested in the people around him, but they're specifically saying that questions were about the president himself.
And what's really important now, Aaron, is we have people who might be able to answer those questions. People like Mark Short and potentially Greg Jacob. This shows me that this shows me that Merrick Garland, when he says nobody is off the table, up to and including the president, he means it. Now, let's understand that statement for what it is. It means he is saying, I'm not placing Donald Trump sort of beyond our reach, nor could he, nor should he. But I think what's really notable is DOJ is now inside the White House for the first time. That's a big change.
And Stephanie, as we hear, right, they're asking questions. This reporting's crossing, the former president's seeing it. They're asking questions in a criminal grand jury for the Department of Justice about the president of the United States himself. Mark Short, the former chief of staff for Mike Pence, testified in front of that grand jury. The Georgia criminal case obviously is moving very quickly. You've got a lot of things moving quickly here that now are touching Trump himself. How does this affect him right now?
That's a tough question. He has dodged so many different inquiries, lawsuits, etc. So if I'm being honest, I think that he is seeing this as a challenge. He's seeing this as a loyalty test, etc. I worked for an attorney general in Arizona, and I do know how methodical you have to be to build a winning case. And so I do believe that's what they're doing, and I do believe something will come of this. But right now, I think he thinks he's going to retain his Teflon Don moniker, and nothing will happen. I also think, today he kept hinting at his latest speech that he was going to run. I think that's continuing to be a distraction, and I think it's also continuing to keep his base riled up so that he feels he has people fighting for him.
Right, fighting for him and distracted from all these developments, obviously, that are coming out so fast and furiously, Ellie, finally. So the New York Times today, as part of this, things are moving more quickly. Just published some undisclosed emails. Okay, these are emails between Trump advisors and lawyers, outside lawyers who are involved in the fake elector scheme that we know the DOJ's been focused on. So one of the aides who helped organize the effort in the state of Arizona called the electors fake in an email, and then follows up in another email saying, quote, alternative votes is probably a better term than fake. Smiley face.
With a smiley face.
How damning is that?
That is a really bad email for the person who sent that and for the person who received it. And here's why, Aaron, I think the fake elector scheme is sort of jumping off the page to prosecutors. Because as Representative Raskin said, we have a whole series of interlocking and sort of interbraided frauds, conspiracies, pressure campaigns here. But the submission of false slates of electors is tangible. It's on paper. They wrote down the fake electors and sent it in to the National Archives. And so there's a tangibility about that I think makes it more appealing investigatively and potentially in terms of a prosecution.
Yeah, in an email like that, you can't say, oh, it was just in case, it was alternative. It's in an email.
Yeah.
Fake. Replace it with alternative, smiley face. I mean, it doesn't get more clear than that.
That'll be up on the board someday.
Yeah, Stephanie, Trump had previously claimed, right? This has been a big part of his claim that he requested, he's the one who offered National Guard troops to be ready on January 6th. But his acting defense secretary, the person who would have received that order, says it is not true. According to newly released testimony he gave to the January 6th committee, I should emphasize, under oath. Take a listen to it, Stephanie.
To be crystal clear, there was no direct order from President Trump to put 10,000 troops to be on the ready for January 6th. Correct?
No. That's correct. There was no order from the president.
I mean, again, Stephanie, under oath, loud and clear, exposing what the former president said as untrue. How damaging is it?
Yeah, I hate to be a Debbie Downer here. It's very damaging, I think, in a regular situation, but how many people now, how many aides who work for him, how many Republicans have said, no, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true, and how many things have been proven not true that the president has said. So I do believe this, adds to the case that the president lies all the time, the former president, I just want to say. But I don't know how damaging it is until the DOJ or the case in Georgia, something actually happens to him. I think at this point, for our country, and this is no pressure because, again, I understand how hard it is to build a winning case. I think until something actually happens, I just don't know how damaging it is.
Yeah, well, it's fair, and it's important that you state it like you see it. Thanks so much to both of you. I appreciate it.
A powerful 7.0 earthquake has struck the Philippines island of Luzon. Landslides have been reported in some areas and a hospital has been badly damaged. A short time ago, the Philippines Interior Minister said 4 people had been killed and 60 injured. The quake was shallow, just 10 kilometres, and aftershocks have been felt 300 kilometres away in the capital, Manila. Well, these are some of the latest pictures. You can see people running from this bell tower 36 kilometres from the epicentre of the earthquake. President Marcos has ordered relief teams to the area and says that he will also travel there himself. Well, John Michael Mugas, correspondent for the Philippines Daily Inquirer, told us more.
So the earthquake, which struck at around 8:48 in the morning here at the northern Luzon here in the Philippines. I am currently actually at the top province, at the northern province, Ilocos Norte, where the earthquake was also felt really widely, and that most provinces in northern Luzon actually reported feeling the earthquake, which was initially reported to have hit at around at magnitude 7.3, but has been downgraded to magnitude 7.0. As of the moment, reports have been thrown at us show that clearing operations are ongoing, while some areas still do not have electricity in their areas, and that the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management is actually verifying one possible death in La Trinidad, Benguet. The earthquake this morning actually triggered fears of the great earthquake which struck in Baguio City in July 1990, and that the impact was also the same as powerful as the earthquake. Some residents are saying that the impact was, they are saying that the impact of the earthquake which happened now was the same like what happened decades ago.
John Michael Mugas there.